Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Unspoken. I'm your host, Michael Brasher, a leadership coach and men's work facilitator who believes that healing men is essential to healing the world. Unspoken is a series about the conversations that we have been craving, but oftentimes we don't have the language or the space to talk about those things, right? These are conversations that are brave, that are messy, that are soulful. It's a chance to talk about the things that are really important in our lives, especially those things that connect to masculinity, power, intimacy, relationships, connection, and disconnection. So today we're going to talk about something that is a lot of times one of the most fraught and under-discussed parts of all of our lives, which is sex. For me, the bottom line working with men is there are so many men in society today whose sex lives are absolutely broken, right? And we are getting this script from society about what it means to be a man, about the kinds of things we have to do and be to get love. And the bottom line is the way that that plays out for so many of us is the ethos we are bringing to our sex lives is disconnection, right? And it has so many consequences in our lives that are really devastating. And that is why I am so grateful to welcome on today our guest, Mary Finlayson, who is a certified sexologist and a sex and relationship coach. Mary,
Hey,
welcome.
thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. I am so grateful and excited for the chance to talk about
Yeah.
this. So here's the first thing I want to just jump right in with you.
Okay.
What, from what you see working with men and working with couples, is the dominant script or template that most men are carrying into their sexual relationships today? And if you can talk about it, like, how did we get here?
Oh, that's a good question. So I think a lot of the scripts that men have is like men go, and I don't think it's just men, right? Women see men as hairy women.
Hmm.
And I think men sometimes see women as overly emotional men.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay.
And they're really, our brains think very differently. We process the world differently. Add in the socialization that how we're socialized as men and we're socialized as women. And it just creates this mixing pot for disconnection.
Okay.
Because a woman is not an over emotional man, and a man is not a hairy woman.
Yeah.
And there's a disconnect right there, you know? And what I see that play out for men is I really believe men want to connect, want partnership.
Yeah.
And they just don't know exactly how to approach their wives and the females in their life that also desire it. And so it's like one of them is speaking Chinese and one of them is speaking Arabic, and they're just missing each other.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. So say more about that. When you say a lot of men are seeing the women in their lives as emotional men,
Uh-huh.
is what you're talking about just like they're not appreciating the differences?
Yes.
And it just, yeah, say
Yeah.
more about that
Yeah.
and what incentivizes men to kind of approach things in that way.
Well, and I think it's just the path of least resistance, right? It's the path of least resistance to see women as overly emotional men and not understanding that the way that we process things, the way we're socialized creates a different reality perception of the world for women.
Okay.
So, for example, I will go home from work and a woman, like the best way I can describe it is we get full, right? Our brains get full. We're over, I don't want to say overstimulated, but there's just like in my brain, I have my calendar going, I have his calendar going, I have the kids' calendar going, I have, so you have all of these things running in your head all of the time.
Yeah.
Men are really good at single focused.
Yeah.
Women have a harder time single focused.
Got it.
So women, I will come home and I'm full.
Yeah.
And I need to empty my bucket to kind of regulate my nervous system.
Yeah. Yeah.
And out of the kindness of my heart or his heart, my boyfriend will hear problems and want to fix them. And I just need him to hold the bucket and let me decompress verbally.
Yeah.
And after I can do that, I can, okay, and then I'm fine.
Yeah.
And so, there's, again, path of least resistance. He just sees me as an overly emotional man rather than, and I have to learn to communicate with him. I need you, so we have a term. I just need you to hold the bucket. And he knows, okay, I don't need him to solve a problem. I just need him to hold the bucket and let me word vomit and complain about my day and decompress.
Yeah.
Men decompress very differently. And what I have found is, this is what I find so fascinating. One day I walked in and my boyfriend was just sitting on the couch, not doing anything. I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, nothing. So for me, I was like, oh, that's an empty space for me to connect with him.
Yeah.
What I didn't, and I go and I'm talking to him and he is not paying attention to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you weren't doing anything. And he was like, I was doing nothing. I was like, oh, nothing is something.
Yeah.
And that kind of rewired something for me that I was like, oh, I'm constantly interrupting him because he's single focused.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have 5 million programs going on in his head at the same time.
Got it.
So there was that disconnect.
Got it.
So now when I want him to focus on me, it's very easy. I just say, can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
And he understands that I constantly have 6 programs going on in my head at the same time. And he's like, how do you do that? I'm like, it's just what we do. It's just how I do it.
Got it.
So I think there's that disconnect there.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that sounds like y'all have evolved a helpful way.
19 years, yeah.
Yeah, to bridge the disconnection there.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's okay, I want to maybe share a little bit of my own process and experience as a way to kind of give some context and ask another question. So I think about my own upbringing, and I think I was raised in an incredibly stereotypical, down the middle, how to be a valuable man in U.S. society, how to get your needs met, how to be loved, how to be respected, how to relate to women, right? How to relate to sex. And I think, I got all these messages as a child, as an adolescent, and at the end of the day, we all want love and respect. So if you tell any of us as human beings, this is how you get love and respect, for better or worse, a lot of times for worse, we're going to do those things, right? And what's interesting for me about the way that, sort of masculinity and patriarchal masculinity in the United States works is that the more you do it, the more outward rewards you get, while you also increase in inward dysfunction. Mm-hmm. That's really how I see it for myself. And so early on in my adolescence, I was having girlfriends. I was having the respect of my peers. I was excelling in these things that the community found valuable. But as I got into my early 20s, I was being so harmful. I would think I was causing harm. I was experiencing harm. I feel like I was being socialized, especially in my relationships with women, to be really selfish. And something I would have never thought was true or admitted, but I can see it now in retrospect, is seeing women as a means to an end, right? I want the love and respect of men. They'll love me if I'm dominant with women. So this is a way to being seen as valuable by men, which is, this deep craving. And so I think this dichotomy between being socially rewarded and then intimately, interpersonally, I think I was just playing out the large scale typical dysfunctions that exist in this society for men and women. And so I think I'm curious to hear in your work, how do you see that script that men in our society get, that conquest mentality? How is that damaging in the intimate lives of the men you work with?
Here's what I've actually discovered, right? Is there are and especially for sex, speaking of sex, there are core desires that everyone has core desires. And it's what we go to sex to feel, right? And there are women who one of their core desires is to be conquered by a man.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they go to sex.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting. What I have seen is some men are like, I cannot give that to my wife.
Mm.
I don't want to conquer her. And she's like, I want you to conquer me. Core desires are usually established early in life because you either didn't get something or you want a repeat of what you got.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then how you get that feeling can look very differently.
Yeah.
So I haven't had the experience, especially with couples and the men that want to come work with me, they are already wanting to do the healing work.
Got it.
Right? So I haven't seen that dysfunction. And it could be because people are coming to me because they want to be healed. And so they've already kind of moved past that.
Got it.
They already had the frame set up, oh, this is wrong. This is something that needs to change.
Got it.
How do we open up the conversation to get to the people who haven't gotten there yet?
Yeah. Yeah, right. Because I think, and that makes sense, right? People self-select. So you help people who want help and take help.
Yes. Yeah. It's going to be really hard for me to get a guy to work with me when he's still in that mode.
Yeah.
What I think we could do is, for our work, is really educate parents on how to bring up the next generation and communicate to their youth what is healthy and what is, connection.
So let's name it. Like, what are some of the messages maybe that like men have historically received in our society that need to change for the next generation to set them up to be able to have free, empowered, loving, respectful, intimate lives?
So I think part of that is it's really just about understanding that women are different. We value relationships and people. And I think men have been socialized. That's how we're socialized. And men have been socialized to value things. So if we can help young men, young children to maybe value that relationship without taking away the masculinity of it. Because and I think that, again, there are more and more men teaching that to their sons. I think we're on a good path and a good, thank goodness we're not, 50 years ago.
100%. Right. Making a lot of big changes. Really. Changes.
And that women, even strong women, have this underlying base fear of men. And I think if men can understand that and have compassion around that, then that will help us go a long way too. Even if it's not warranted.
So it's a great point. I want to share a couple of things. First of all, to me, the biggest secrets that we keep as men is that we understand the fear of men as well as anybody because we're afraid of each other.
Yeah.
And only by creating the right space will a whole group of men be like, duh, that's obvious. And of course it's true. Of course, fear of men and psychological safety is present. Like all throughout the day, I'm making choices along that axis. We've learned to dissociate from our emotions and to put on a mask and to live from the mask place and not the connection place. Right. So we often don't know that's true. So if you ask most men, they're going to be like, no, that's preposterous, right? But we do understand it. And I think the other part that I'm hearing and what you're talking about, which is, for me, is what is so essential in this conversation. So I've talked about patriarchal masculinity, right? And what I would say is it's a particular flavor and brand of the idea of what it means to be a man that is not what it's always been. It's not what it is at all places.
Right.
And so for me, a definitive attribute of patriarchal masculinity, or, what people sometimes call toxic masculinity, is this idea that part of being legitimately masculine is disidentifying as deeply as possible with everything that a woman experiences.
Yes.
Right. It's being phobic. It is a phobia of women, right? That's another, that's misogyny.
Yep.
Right. And so, but then because we don't claim that as men, we don't say, hey, I have been raised to be phobic of women. I hate women. We don't say those things.
Right.
We lie vehemently if we were asked about it. The problem is we can't address the fact that the truth is, in a private, deep down way, I'm trying not to relate to the experiences of my partner.
Yep.
Right? I'm trying not to know. And then not in a conscious way, not in a twist my mustache way, but some embodied cellular stress response says, don't relate too much to anything she's about or you'll be unsafe. People won't love you, etc.
Right.
And so this part where, you know, we're talking about what are the messages we need to stop? What are the messages we need to start? Well, like, being relational isn't gay. It's not weak. It's not stupid. It's not less than. It's not gossip.
Right.
Right. And so I think it's like raising boys to lift up and love things that are also feminine. And it's not doing that so that now I no longer access my masculinity,
Right.
but it's that I have access to fierceness when I need to be fierce,
right,
and softness when I need to be soft. And so I'm wondering if you can talk about this part of, yeah, basically like misogyny and how it sabotages our sexual relationships.
Yeah. So, and again, like women, we will disconnect during sex so often, even if we're with a partner that we've been with and we love so much. And the number one thing I try and teach every single man and woman that comes into my office is how to attune to your partner.
Yes.
And attuning to your partner is the basis for connection.
Yes.
Whether it is a friend, a boss, a client, your children, is attuning to them.
Yeah.
And first you have to attune to yourself
Yeah.
before you can attune to somebody else.
Yeah.
And attunement is so important because that allows you to feel what they're feeling. But first you have to feel what you're feeling. And what I see is my clients they're literally having sex together, but they're not actually together. They're each experiencing it very differently.
Yeah.
She's writing the grocery list and he is in a fantasy world or something, you know, and if you're having sex and disconnect, that's sad.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, you know, like so many of like the crises that, if we talk about like masculinity or manhood or what's going on with boys and men today, their mental health, like so many of the crises come down to loneliness
in a relationship. Yeah.
I think that piece of attunement, it's like a beautiful way to put it, right? Which is just a fundamental human capacity, neither feminine nor masculine, to be able to attune. You're right, like babies will die if they don't get attunement, right? So it's that we've all experienced it. We've probably all given it at points, but it is that regular humane practice of just being so present. Right. It's the natural arising experience of compassion, for example.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm feeling something in response to it. But when we get so socialized as boys and men to like, that makes you weak, that makes you less than, or we come to resent and ridicule our partner for being a woman. Right. We hold spite for them for being a woman, which is, it's so present for so many of us, like socialized to desire women, to project all these things onto them and simultaneously to hate them.
Because what you really want is a man in a feminine body.
Right. Which is,
well, that's what they're socialized to want.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like deeply not this world, right?
No.
To be in harmony is to be able to hold the masculine and the feminine with love, appreciation, and respect, and not fear.
Right.
So let's talk about like, what is the work as you see it that men need to do in sex or otherwise to be willing to sort of combat and unlearn some of these things that have us basically trained to like not attune and be averted from our partner?
I think, and I always take a brave step and just try it. Like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen if you try? And even if it like on a lesser degree, like if you're feeling like maybe my partner or that girl that's unsafe, try attuning just with yourself and seeing how that start at that baby step. You can even try attuning with a dog, right? And feeling that connection with another living being and seeing how that responds, like how that dog or horse or, cat, whatever, will respond to you attuning to them, like what their needs are, what they're experiencing.
Yes.
I know when I come into the house, right? If I'm anxious, my dog is going to be reflecting that back. Not out of flight, fight, his triggered responses. Oh, if my owner is upset, then there's something I need to be upset about.
Yeah.
I see it with horses all the time, right? Someone will be riding and they're having a horrible ride. I'm like, oh, did you have that day today? Yeah. Oh, well, that's why your horse is,
Right.
So starting something that basic and experiencing that, I think, and then building from there.
Okay. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something safe. Well,
Practicing something small. What it makes me think about, and I'd love to get your feedback on it, but is that idea of asking our partners for feedback. Right. And again, that's like, it's a big frontier I work with a lot of men on because it checks all the boxes, right? I'm respecting the experience, the knowledge, the wisdom of women. I'm divesting from the idea that being a valuable man means knowing everything,
right.
being perfect, being beyond reproach.
Right.
And I think, right, just spiritually, we know humility is medicine. So what are some questions, whether it's like attunement based or other areas, that we can ask our partners as men to just sort of check in and find out how we're doing and get the right feedback?
So a great question I love to ask my partners, and for him to ask me is, how did you experience me in that situation? Like if we've had sex, how is that? How did you experience me?
Interesting.
Right.
Okay.
And it always brings up really good, interesting conversation. Like because I'll get feedback from him that's like, it seemed like you were distracted. And then I can kind of, I was thinking, I wasn't right there present, right? Or even like cooking dinner, right? I can be like, how was that cooking dinner? Like, how was that experience for you? Finding out little mundane things, asking them, how did you experience that? Or after the fact, like if you show gratitude for something, did I do that well? Did you feel that from me? Did you feel my gratitude? Well, if you had, I know you were trying, but it would have landed better this way. Yeah. Because then we can use that language that they feed to us back in the future for them.
Yeah, I love that. And it's just, all of those questions are so vulnerable, right? Which again is like the conditions we need for intimacy, right? And connection to our partner.
So, I always say intimacy is not a safe space. It's a brave space. It's going to take you being vulnerable. It's going to take you being courageous. You're going to fail. You're going to bump into each other, get really good at repair.
Yes.
And on the other side of that is where deep, meaningful connection and intimacy is.
Yep. Yeah, it's so beautiful. And I just, like, I think about in my own journey of unlearning just how long I was incapable of intimacy, but didn't know it.
Right.
Because I was so afraid of failure, of not being a man, right? Basically. And just learning, like, you actually get to fail and be a mess and be incomplete, and like just letting other people see that is actually the beginning point of the most satisfying relationship. So it's just, what you're sharing is so important for so many.
Yeah. Be prepared to be messy, and even be like, I think even the first step of being vulnerable is telling your partner, if you're in a long-term monogamous or even, poly relationship, is, hey, I want to do this change. It's going to be messy. I might step on your toes. I might hurt you. But it's for my own growth. And on the other side, we're going to love each other so much more.
Yes.
and we're going to learn repair. And that's one of the beautiful things about being in a relationship is that personal growth opportunities.
Yeah.
And it's not just through all the good times. The actual growth and repair comes from the messy times.
Absolutely. And I think it's just like that, it's so scary to ask for help type thing. But the moments where like we learn to step out of that man box and say like, hey, would you be willing to help me on this very vulnerable thing for me? And having people come through for you is an amazing, healing, elevating experience. So that's what I hear so much about this. Let me ask you, in your work, what would you say are signs that a man is sexually healing? He's healing in his sexual relationship.
I would say the first thing is he's asking questions. He is willing to start, because so many couples don't talk about sex.
Right.
So usually the first thing is, what can I do? Like he's asking questions. He's willing to talk. That's usually the first step.
I love it. Okay, so this is really helpful. Let's bring it down to sort of practical takeaways that folks might have. What are a few small, you talked about the attunement one. What are some other small, kind of tangible practices that men could go out of this video and this week practice in their relationship, in their life that would help them to cover the sort of ground that you help men cover in their sex lives?
I think something that would, if you really want to just blow your partner's mind away, ask her, what does she like feelings during sex?
Ooh.
Because because asking that question, she's going to start thinking like feeling during sex, like, but there's a feeling that's part of that core desire.
Yes.
And if you can figure out your partner's core desire, there's usually one feeling.
Got it.
Sometimes two, but usually just one. And if you can hit on that core feeling, you will put stars in her eye and curl her toes because she will be getting that feeling. Now, after you figure out the feeling, then you can work out what container she likes to receive that in.
Got it.
And that takes asking questions.
Got it.
Like, do you like more passion, romance? Yeah. Do you like to feel more dominated? Or maybe you want to be submissive. Like figuring out her container that she wants to receive that feeling in. Those are the two basics for really good. Yeah. Like she'll love you forever.
I love it. That's so thoughtful. And like step one, going back to so much of what we talked about, I would have to give a shit what my partner is thinking and feeling. I would have to want to know these things. I think sometimes when we're on autopilot, we're trained to try not to know.
Right.
Like to like endure the times where she's communicating it to us, right? So what you're talking about is actually going out proactively to collect the information.
Yeah. Well, and think about it, if you're not happy with your sex lives, well, what are you going to do about it?
That's it.
Like it's not, you can take that responsibility.
Yes.
And part of that is, okay, unless you're going to do sex by yourself, you have to go talk to her. You have to connect with her. Yep. You have to, it's really the first pure partnership that a couple can create together. Yeah. Before you're creating a house and babies and everything, creating a good sex life is a great foundation for partnership.
Brilliant.
Because you have to do it together for you both to be satisfied, for you both to get those. Yeah. For it to be good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like, so for me, part of my axe to grind in men's work is just like, man, if you're a man in relationships with women, saying I'm not going to like address my misogyny is just it's boneheaded to be simplistic. I'm like, I can't make sense of the sheer volume of men who are just like, I'm not interested in doing anything about that. And that's what I think about when you say it's like, I'm going to actually try to solve the problems in my relationship. This is a part I'm going to become curious and interested in the experiences and knowledge of women and trust that can make my life better.
Yeah. And make her life better.
Yeah.
And I think that really truly does play into a man's natural instincts of being that protector, provider, problem solver.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, I have one more question for you. If you could wave a magic wand and have every man unlearn just one thing about sex, what would it be?
This is going to be crazy. Only 25% of women orgasm from penetrative sex. You need to pay attention to to the clitoris.
Yeah.
You need to be okay having toys or other stimulation.
Yes.
But only 25% of us actually orgasm from penetrative sex.
Yep.
So it's going to take a little bit more.
Yeah. If all men could understand, appreciate, and care about that, tomorrow we change the world.
So that's why I love when men are like, oh, every single woman I've ever been with, I'm like, okay, well, statistically saying,
Yeah, right.
really improbable.
It's really improbable.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The things that men, when they just argue with their wives about their sex lives and say, well, every other woman I've been with, insert a wild ass misunderstanding is about to jump into the room.
Absolutely. Yes. So, and it's just the way we're built.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the man.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
the human female anatomy.
Yep.
So it's not
Yes.
anything to do with you. It's how we're built
Yep.
and our anatomy that we need that extra stimulation.
And if I don't deal with my big old fragile sense of masculine self, I'm going to have a hard time coping with biological reality.
Yep. Biological reality. Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
I love it. Okay. This has been so helpful, so valuable. Tell our viewers and our listeners where they can follow your work. And if you're doing anything right now that people should tap into or take advantage of, I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah. So my business name is Moments by Mariella. So I have a website, www.momentsbymariella.com. I'm on all the social medias with Moments by Mariella. I also have a more spicier page called the Pleasure Portal on Facebook. And I do events all over Tucson and workshops that I teach couples everything from, I call it kink for vanilla, and just really basic, not just necessarily the head stuff, but tips and tricks and stuff like that. So if you go on my website, all those events will be on there.
Okay. And you also do sometimes work with parents.
I do.
Around helping them to know how to talk to their kids about sex and a good time.
So that is launching in December. It's called Let's Talk About It. It's going to be a webinar where you can jump on the live webinar once a month, or you can do a subscription service and get all the recordings if you can't make it. And it's really going to be, again, talking about how we can heal for the next generation.
Yeah.
How can we make sure that our children have the best knowledge? Because they're not going to get education. They're not going to get sex education from school.
Yeah.
They're going to get it from their friends.
Yeah.
And it's the blind leading the blind. So like I've met college students, engineering students who didn't know how to put a condom on.
Yeah.
And so it's called Let's Talk About It. And it's launching on the first week in December. And again, that will be on my website.
Okay, awesome. We definitely want to support that. Well, Mary, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the conversation today. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'm Michael Brasher here from the Unspoken.